Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in this world. This is Hedgen Lee with a morning update for Bitcoin. So yesterday we had everyone's calling this a collapse. Yeah, it could be a collapse. Last night I thought we'll do a triangle, but do you see a pattern? Do you see a pattern that's standing out to you at least? Now that the price is far more mature, I think you can be able to identify a better pattern. And that pattern, you can see the left shoulder, the head, and right shoulder. Now, bear in mind, the patterns are not for guarantees. Patterns are only factors that can contribute to your decision in identifying the short-term or the long-term trend. If this head and shoulders does execute, price should go back to around 7,600 or so. Okay, and that makes sense because let's zoom out a little bit on this. When you zoom out, you can see whether it's three-wave-ish or impulsive. Let's see what we have. We have A, B, C, okay? And then we have A, B, C, three-wave-ish, very three-wave-ish, you can tell. And this is three-wave-ish so far. But if we have A, B, C, we should get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's the ABC scenario. Unless you go to the 7.5-ish or 6. We can also have a WXY. And I'm not giving this out to trade on. You'll see how it all fits in just a bit. The other way you can put this is as a W, X, and a Y. It could be almost done or already done, and it'll start declining. Now, let's zoom out more and look at some important things. Let's even go to the daily chart. People are getting scared. That's pretty clear for now. And that fear is mounting every time you see this kind of collapses, what have you. And that's understandable. But what's interesting is all of that is happening in overall declining volume. Okay. This rise occurred in a rising volume, as you can tell. Now, we know that since late December, there were distinct 5 waves up on an impulse scale. And these 5 waves indicated that afterwards, after the 5th wave is complete, you need that requisite correction, and voila, we're getting it. Now, there are multiple ways of counting this, and they all tell me that the correction is really at a terminal phase. And that's what I want to take you through, those counts. The primary count says that we have an ABC for A, ABC for B, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for C. And that's very interesting. The reason is because if we have 3, 3, 5, that's called a flat. Okay? And the C wave has to have 5 subwaves. And what we see is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I think 5 is not yet complete. Not yet. When will it complete? Well, I think the zone of 7.2K to 6.8K is likely. Okay, it'll do that head and shoulders, excuse me, go a little bit up and then come back down to finish wave 5. So this ABC is telling me that the subwaves of the C of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is almost complete. Very interesting. And you might be wondering, why am I putting 1 here and not there? Well, this is an ABC expanded. So this is telling me we are at likely the terminal phase of the correction. Now, if we throw up the Fibonacci chart since late December to right now, it's telling us that we are very close to the 0.618. Okay, so that's another reason. Now, there's a real big cluster of support right here. Okay, let's call this the triangle of support. And this triangle of support should bring a good pause, at the very least, effect to this decline. Because why? Well, when it was going up, it sliced through like a hot knife through butter because of the increasing volume. It's unlikely to do so through this hefty zone of support on a declining volume, unless we get a sudden burst, of course, in the volume. Yes, I know. That, is quite possible too, probable in fact. But this count on the correction ABC is telling me we're pretty close, or should be close, to the completion of the correction. Maybe $500 away or so. Now, let's look at another way. Everything else remaining the same. If I count this as a W, X, and then Y. Well, for WXY, you need ABC, ABC, A, B, and C. And if I label the ABC, you get the A, B, and then the C. Okay. Now this C wave needs 5 waves. Great. And that would say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, saying we're almost pretty close. Another way to look at this. Remember, and I'm giving you now a real live example of the 5 and 5. When I said there's a 5 wave followed by another 5 wave, that means that another 5 wave could be, if we have a true impulse upwards and we get 5 waves down, then we likely potentially have a zigzagging process on the correction side. What do I mean by that? Well, I can say that we have one, two, the 4 and 5. There you go. This could be 5, 3, and then we'll get a much lower low. But still, what it's saying is that we're close to finishing off this 5 wave. Now, this I would call 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, leading diagonal 1. That's a bit of a stretch visually, because heck, it looks very 3-wave-ish. So I think that's the least reliable count. The best count I like is 3, 3 for A, B, and C. which is almost complete. And this C will be cut, embraced, probably by this support zone, which lasted for months. And for that to be sliced through on a declining volume is not as likely. And this C wave is telling me that we are getting the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And wave 5 of C is almost complete. And I think that's beautiful. Now, could the price just go swing down all the way to this level, to 4,160? Yes, it can. And be aware of it. But you know what? We'll get stopped out at around 67 something or whatever, wherever the 50-week moving average is right now. And we'll take that money and buy it back in, and as a consequence, end up with more Bitcoin. At these points, I'm more interested in gaining more Bitcoin than the higher dollar total value of the trade or the HODL, because I get stopped out of the HODL. I get stopped out of everything if price declines to here, and that's potential. And all my HODLs, well, not all, but a good amount of my recent HODLs will have losses. My God, how does a HODL have a loss? Well, when you get your sell signal, you get out. And you take that money and buy it back in at the bottom. But I think, like I said, the rationale, technical rationale of this support should embrace the decline and stop it at somewhere at 0.618 or a bit below it. Now, let's look at my HODL BTFD long trade 1-C and see if any rungs get filled. And check this out, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we got 2 rungs filled. I have to check more closely, but yes, 2 of the top rungs were filled, and we've got 2 more left to get filled. And if the lowest rung is below the current 50-week moving average, then the rationale behind that is that price can pierce it and come back above. And during that pierce, it'll fill it and coming back above it. That's not the sell signal that I use. I have to have on a weekly basis open and close below the 50-week moving average. That's my sell indicator, not when it gets pierced. Please understand that. Thereby, this would be a good buy. Again, if we have A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I might only get 3 rungs filled. I don't care. This is a great buying the freaking dip setup. And when did I cast this? Weeks ago. Sitting patiently at these levels, waiting to get filled, like a fisherman, casting his line and waiting patiently for that nibble. And that's exactly what trading is like. And even if fishing is an art, you have to be able to not only know how to identify and use the tackle and the lines, etc., what have you, but you have to be able to identify the best spots, identify the feeling of the real true nibble on the rod, etc., all the nuances. And the best value they can get from hedging.com is me showing you how I do it, what are my nuances, what are my techniques, and they're not perfect. No one has perfect techniques. No one ever will. But techniques that work. in keeping the losses small, but also having the winning trades much larger. And you will see that. For those of you who are not here since April, you haven't seen that because we really didn't have a trend. But once the trend turns, you will see those double, triple digit trades coming on. But I think it's pretty cool on a live example how a long ago, weeks ago, buy wrong BTFD1-C cast ladder was cast and is starting to get filled. And that itself to me is a confirmation that we are at the true terminal phase of this correction. I could be wrong, absolutely. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to get stopped out. Thank God for stops. Just like in the recent trade, we got stopped out. Thank God we don't have to experience those further losses. And when is the best time to buy? Is it at wave 3, wave 4, wave 5? The best time to buy is at the terminal end of the correction, of a major correction. And we're exactly there in this yellow square, I believe. Let's see what happens. I hope you find this to be helpful. Have a great day.